Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. In today's video, we're going to be doing a pantry restock, a little bit of canning, and just getting prepared for the week ahead. If you guys do not know, we recently just bought a 1950s colonial home, and we are slowly making it our own. But today, we're just going to primarily focus on the food aspect. We are going through our food journey and growing as much food as we possibly can so we can have the best food for our family. If that interests you, please hit the subscribe button and let's get right into this video. So the first thing that I need to restock is homemade self-rising flour. I use this all the time in my kitchen. It is a staple in my pantry. I use it for a multitude of things such as pancakes, biscuits, cornbread. If it needs self-rising flour or flour that rises, I'm going to use self-rising flour to make it easier on me and also to keep my kitchen flowing. So you will need 3 ingredients, which is flour, salt, and double-acting baking powder. Not baking soda, baking powder. I typically go through 1 or 2 canisters per week. I use this flour for all of my quick breads, such as pancakes, waffles, drop biscuits, cornmeal, even muffins sometimes if I'm running short on time. I absolutely love having this on hand. It is nothing for me to be making a meal. Think if I want to add a bread to it, I can just easily pull it up out of my drawer, throw it into the bowl, easily mix it together, and get it in a pan and baking in the oven. And by the time dinner is ready, I'm pulling this fresh and hot out of the oven for my family to enjoy along with their meal. Now, I am also labeling and dating every single item that I bring into my home, so I know when it was purchased, how old it is, and also keep a system going of oldest out first and the newest is used last. Now, this is just for me being a previous dietary aide when I was in my teens and mid to early 20s while I was going to college, and I've honestly just kept up with it, and honestly it has been a game changer. I know what has been used first, what should be used first, and if I find something that should have been used first, I will move it to the front, and everybody in my family knows, like, hey, this needs to be used first, and we're not going to touch the other items until that item is gone. So highly recommend implementing that in your home if you are struggling with finding items that are almost out of date. They need to be used first. That way you can keep track of everything and you don't have to write it down on a notepad. It is on the item itself. So the next thing that we're going to be restocking today is my 5-gallon bucket of 25 pounds worth of all-purpose flour. I picked this up from my local Walmart for $10.77, and we use this for everything: to make the self-rising flour, to make homemade bread, homemade dough for pizza, literally everything. This is a huge staple because we don't buy any of our bread products from the store anymore. I make them all at home. And we also like to keep this in the house mainly due to stretch our dollar. And if one day we go to the store, it's not there, we know that we have enough in our home to get us through. I also keep wheat berries on hand. Currently, right now, I have some hard red wheat and some soft white wheat from Azure Standard. Now I'm just going to put that flour back into my pantry, and we are going to work on restocking my rye flour. I use rye flour in my bread sometimes. However, I don't use enough of it to buy like a 10-pound bag. I do buy a 5-pound bag though, and I like to keep it on my pantry shelf just in case I do want to use it. My husband really enjoys the texture and flavor of rye flour, and so I try to use it and incorporate it into some of our breads, and he just loves it. Now it's time for me to start a loaf of bread. I'm just going to get out my flour, my bought barley syrup that I use as an alternative sweetener for my yeast, a little bit of salt and oil, and after that we're going to get started on making our homemade cranberry juice. Now, this is the easy part of making homemade bread, is getting all the ingredients ready, adding the water, the yeast, and whatnot. And if you guys have not started making homemade bread, please start making your own homemade bread. It is so delicious. It's not full of those ingredients that we cannot pronounce, and I think it would be a perfect addition to add to your home. Next, I'm going to get started on making my family's homemade cranberry juice. Now, this is something that I recently decided to add into our pantry, and I am so happy that I made it because it has quickly become a staple in my household. I'm just going to wash the cranberries, pick out the bad ones, and get those jarred up, add a little bit of sugar, and pressure can those, and let the jar sit. And the longer they sit, the better they get, you guys. Like, it is so wonderful. Now I'm just going to go back to making my homemade bread loaf. My yeast has fully bloomed. It is active and ready for me to make it. So I'm just adding some flour. I'm gonna add 1 cup of rye flour, substitute 1 flour of the all-purpose for rye, and then I'm just going to get that all whipped up and mixed up using my mixer, and then I'm going to hand knead the dough the rest of the way. So I'm just going to continue to knead the dough, and my little girl wanted some mommy time and wanted to help me, so I'm just going to sit her on the counter and we're going to work on this dough together. And I just realized, you guys, I am not making homemade bread. So if I said homemade bread, I am so sorry. I'm actually making some bagels. I'm so used to making homemade loaves of bread that when I make something new, it's strange for me. If you hear screaming and playing, my niece and my nephew and my daughter are all playing upstairs. So I apologize if you guys hear them giggling and screaming. But my daughter wanted to help, and I'm just going to roll this all out after I knead it, cut it with a knife, and make little balls, and then puncture them with my thumb. Make, a bagel look like a bagel, and set that to the side. The seasonings that I used for this was everything bagel, salt. I didn't make any cheddar. And then I make a really, really good and sweet one, which was just brown sugar and cinnamon. It was so good. And then I decided to make my daughter a cup of hot chocolate with some whipped cream, and she loved it. The bagels are done. The cranberry juice still needs to be canned, but I want to say thank you guys for coming along with me while I do a pantry restock and feed my family good, nutritious, healthy food. Thank you so much for stopping by my colonial home. Bye, guys.